I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from. Last Thanksgiving, my daughter told me my cooking wasn't sophisticated enough for her dinner party, so I hosted my own. She had no idea what I was about to do next would change everything. I was folding the third hand-knitted sweater when my phone rang. The cable knit pattern for Emma's sweater had taken me 73 hours so far, each stitch a labor of love in her favorite Kelly green. Little turkeys embroidered around the collar because my 10-year-old granddaughter had always loved the Thanksgiving parade. Nancy speaking, I answered, tucking the phone between my shoulder and ear. Mom, Nicole's voice had that edge to it, that tone that meant she was about to say something I wouldn't like. Liam and I need to talk to you about Thanksgiving. My hands stilled on the soft wool. Through my kitchen window, I could see Mrs. Eleanor Rodriguez hanging her autumn wreath next door. Everything's still normal, still safe. Of course, honey. What time should I come over? I was thinking of bringing the turkey early so I can get it in your oven by... Actually, she paused. We've decided to do something different this year. I set down the sweater, giving her my full attention. Different. How we're doing an adults-only Thanksgiving this year. Nicole continued her words, coming faster now. You know, wine pairing's sophisticated dishes. It's really not going to be appropriate for, well, for everyone. The silence stretched between us. I'm an adult, I wanted to say. Instead, I asked, what do you mean by everyone? She laughed. That light, dismissive laugh she'd picked up somewhere in the last 3 years since marrying Liam. You know what I mean, Mom. It's going to be very formal, very curated. Liam has some important clients coming, Richard Hastings from Hastings Capital, and we really need to make the right impression. But I'm your mother. Exactly, she said as if reading my mind. Which is why I knew you'd understand. Maybe next year we can do something more casual, more traditional. Traditional, like the 42 Thanksgivings I'd hosted for her. Like the recipe book I'd started when she was born, adding a new dish every year, writing notes in the margins about what she loved. Nicole asked for extra marshmallows on sweet potatoes. Age 7. Nicole helped roll pie crust. Age 12. First time. So proud. Sarah, I said quietly, then caught myself. Nicole, I've already started preparing. I've been working on the kids' sweaters since August. I have your grandmother's pie recipe ready. That's actually another thing. Her voice softened, but not in a kind way, in a pitying way. Your home cooking is wonderful, Mom, for what it is. But we've hired a professional caterer from Le Bernardin in New York, someone who actually studied at Le Cordon Bleu. We really need everything to be, how do I put this, more sophisticated. I sat down at my kitchen table, the same table where Nicole had done her homework, where I'd taught her to knead bread, where we'd decorated cookies every holiday season for 20 years. Not sophisticated enough, I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. Don't take it personally. It's just a different style than what you do. Your cooking is very comfort food, nostalgic, but Liam's clients expect something more elevated. She paused. More refined. Emma's half-finished sweater sat on the table in front of me. 73 hours of work so far. Each stitch counted. Each one perfect. What about the kids? I managed. Can I at least see Emma and Jake? They'll be there, obviously. It's Thanksgiving. But like I said, it's a formal affair. Late dinner adult conversation. 8 courses. You'd be bored, Mom. Honestly. There it was. The real message underneath all the pretty words. You're not sophisticated enough. Your food isn't good enough. You don't fit into the life we've built. I understand, I heard myself say. I knew you would. You're always so reasonable, Mom. Listen, I have to run. Liam and I have a tasting with the caterer in 20 minutes. Love you. She hung up before I could respond. I sat there for a long time holding the phone, looking at the sweater, at the photo album I'd been working on for 3 months, Sarah's Thanksgivings through the years. 42 photos, one for each year of her life, each one labeled in my careful handwriting. Nicole, age 5, chocolate-covered face from sneaking pie. Nicole, age 16, first time making stuffing alone. Nicole, age 23, brought Liam home for the first time. Seemed nice. The doorbell rang. I wiped my eyes quickly and went to answer it. David Miller stood on my porch holding a bag of apples. From my tree, he said with that gentle smile. Silver hair, kind brown eyes, wearing a worn cardigan that had probably belonged to his late wife. Thought you might want them for Thanksgiving pies. I remember you mentioning that was your specialty. David had moved in next door 8 months ago, widower like me, retired from teaching history at Portland State like I'd retired from teaching literature. We'd fallen into an easy friendship over shared cups of coffee and gardening advice. "Come in," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. He took one look at my face and set the apples down. What happened? And somehow I told him everything. About the phone call, about adults only, about my cooking not being sophisticated enough, about 3 months of preparation for a Thanksgiving I wasn't invited to. "That's ridiculous," he said firmly. "You're her mother. She's busy. Her life is different now." I picked up Emma's sweater. That big house in West Hills, Liam's career, the private schools for the kids. I don't fit into that picture anymore. "So what are you going to do?" I looked at him, at this kind man who had lost his wife 2 years ago to cancer, who'd told me he spent last Thanksgiving eating a frozen dinner alone at the senior center, who'd mentioned just last week that the hardest part of the holidays was the silence. "I don't know yet," I said slowly, "but I'm not going to let all this preparation go to waste." The idea started forming then. Small at first, then bigger, bolder. What if I didn't need Nicole's sophisticated dinner party? What if I created something better? The next morning, I drove to Portland Community College, posted a notice on the bulletin board outside the cafeteria. Thanksgiving dinner for students who can't go home, home-cooked traditional meal, free, limited spaces. Contact Nancy, 503-555-0142. Then I called Safe Harbor House, the women's shelter where I volunteered every Tuesday. Asked the director Maria if she knew families who needed somewhere to go for Thanksgiving. "Nancy, are you sure?" Maria's voice was warm but concerned. "That's a big undertaking." "I'm sure," I said. And I was. I knocked on doors in my neighborhood. Mrs. Rodriguez, whose adult children lived in Spain and couldn't afford to visit. The young couple 3 houses down, Mia and Tom, with their newborn daughter Lily, both sets of grandparents gone looking overwhelmed and exhausted. "Just a simple Thanksgiving," I told each of them. "Nothing fancy, just traditional home cooking." By Wednesday evening, I had 15 confirmed guests. David helped me set up tables in my backyard. We borrowed folding chairs from St. Mary's Episcopal, where I sometimes attended services. I pulled out every tablecloth, every dish, every piece of silverware I owned. And I cooked. I made my mother's turkey recipe, the one that takes 2 days of brining with apple cider and herbs basting every hour. The stuffing with sage from my garden sausage from the local butcher and homemade cornbread. Sweet potato casserole with the marshmallow topping Nicole used to sneak bites of when she thought I wasn't looking. Green bean casserole. Cranberry sauce from scratch with orange zest and just a hint of ginger. Parker House rolls that I'd learned to make from my own grandmother. And pies. Apple pumpkin and pecan. With lattice crusts and leaf cutouts and all the care I'd been saving for Nicole's sophisticated dinner. Wednesday night my phone buzzed. A text from Nicole. "Mom, can you do me a huge favor? Can you lend me $30,000? Liam needs it for an investment opportunity. Time sensitive. We'll pay you back next month. Promise." I stared at the message for a long time. $30,000. That was nearly a third of my retirement savings. Money I'd carefully set aside for my teacher's pension from the sale of the house after Robert died. I didn't respond. Instead, I went back to my kitchen and rolled out more pie dough. Thanksgiving morning arrived crisp and clear. I woke at 5 a.m. as I always did on Thanksgiving. Put the turkey in the oven, started the rolls rising, put on the dress I'd bought specifically for Nicole's dinner party, the nice one from Nordstrom that I'd saved for 2 months to afford, navy blue with small white flowers, pearls that had been Robert's last gift to me. I looked at myself in the mirror. 68 years old, gray hair styled softly, laugh lines around my eyes. I looked like someone's grandmother. I looked like myself. And for the first time in weeks, that felt like enough. At 1:30, my doorbell started ringing. The first guests were 3 international students from PCC, Priya from India, Hassan from Syria, and Chen Wei from China. They stood on my porch, looking uncertain, each clutching small gifts. "Is this for real?" Priya asked, her dark eyes wide. "Like actual Thanksgiving. Like actual Thanksgiving," I confirmed, ushering them inside. Hassan handed me a small, wrapped package. "I am sorry I did not know what to bring. This is baklava, my mother's recipe. I know it is not traditional. It's perfect, I said and meant it. At 2 o'clock, Jessica arrived from Safe Harbor House. 27 years old, with haunted eyes, holding the hands of 5-year-old Chloe and 3-year-old Ethan. The children clutched stuffed animals and stared at the tables laden with food. "Are all these for us?" Chloe whispered. "Every single one," I said, kneeling down to her level. "Do you like marshmallows?" She nodded, eyes huge. "Then you're going to love the sweet potatoes." Mrs. Rodriguez arrived with a bottle of wine and tears in her eyes. "Nancy, I haven't had Thanksgiving with people in 5 years. My children always promise to visit, but—" She trailed off. "Thank you." David, who'd gone home to change, returned wearing a suit jacket and carrying flowers. Yellow roses. My favorites, though I'd never told him that. "You look beautiful," he said quietly, and I felt myself blush like a teenager. Mia and Tom came with baby Lily in a carrier, apologizing 3 times for the diaper bag. "We can leave if she gets fussy." "You'll do no such thing," I said firmly. "Babies are always welcome at my table." By 2:30 we were all seated. Strangers and neighbors, young and old. I stood at the head of the table looking at these faces, people who'd wanted to be here, who'd said yes to an invitation from someone they barely knew. "I want to thank you all for coming," I began. "Thanksgiving is about gratitude, and I'm grateful for each of you. This year I learned something important. Sometimes the family we choose is just as precious as the family we're born into." David caught my eye, smiled. "Now," I said, "let's eat." The conversation rose and fell like music. Hassan told stories about Thanksgivings with his family in Damascus before the war, how his mother would spend 3 days preparing a feast even though Thanksgiving wasn't a Syrian holiday. "She said any excuse to gather family was worth celebrating," he said softly. Then his voice broke. "I have not seen them in 4 years." Priya reached across the table and squeezed his hand. Chen Wei talked about feeling homesick for her family in Beijing, how she'd cried herself to sleep last week thinking about missing Thanksgiving. "I did not even know what Thanksgiving was until I came to America," she admitted. "But my roommate, she told me about it, about gathering about gratitude, and I thought this is what I am missing." One of the other students I'd invited, a young man named Marcus, ironically started crying when he tasted the turkey. "My grandmother used to make it like this," he managed, wiping his eyes. "She passed away last year. I haven't had real Thanksgiving since." Little Chloe asked if she could have extra marshmallows. I gave her the whole bowl, watched her delight as she counted each one carefully. 1, 2, 3. Mommy, there's 23 marshmallows." Jessica smiled at her daughter, really smiled. It transformed her whole face. "My ex-husband," she said quietly to me later, helping in the kitchen. "He used to say I wasn't a good mother, that I couldn't take care of my kids. That's why I stayed so long, because I believed him." She looked out the window at Chloe and Ethan now playing with David in the yard. "But look at them. They're happy. We got out. We're safe. And we're here eating this beautiful meal with kind people." Tears ran down her face. "I'm a good mom. I got them out." "You're an amazing mom," I said, hugging her. Mrs. Rodriguez told stories about Thanksgivings past, about her late husband, about raising 4 children on a teacher's salary. She'd been a math teacher, we discovered, at the same time I was teaching English across town. "We probably went to the same district meetings," she laughed. "And here we are, neighbors 30 years later." This, I thought. This is what Thanksgiving is supposed to be. Not polished, not sophisticated, but real, warm, human. I was in the kitchen cutting more pie when my phone rang. Nicole. I almost didn't answer, but something habit hope I don't know made me pick up. Mom, where are you?" Her voice was strained, panicked. "I've been calling." "I'm at home, honey, having Thanksgiving dinner." "What, but I thought—" She paused. "Never mind. Listen, Mom, I need you to get over here right now. Can you bring food? Anything you have, please." "I don't understand. I thought you had a caterer." "The caterer." She paused. I heard Liam's voice in the background, sharp and angry. "The caterer's food is— Mom, it's inedible. Pretentious garbage. Richard Hastings is here with his wife, and they're expecting a real meal. Liam is furious. Please, can you come? Bring the turkey, the stuffing, anything." I looked through my kitchen doorway at my dining room, at the tables full of people who'd wanted me there, who'd appreciated my not sophisticated enough cooking, who'd asked for recipes and packed up leftovers like they were treasures. Hassan was teaching Chen Wei how to fold paper cranes. Chloe had fallen asleep on Mrs. Rodriguez's lap. Marcus and Priya were deep in conversation about graduate school applications. Mia was nursing baby Lily while eating pie, looking more relaxed than when she'd arrived. "I can't," I said calmly. "What do you mean you can't, Mom? This is important. Liam's career depends on this. We need you." "You needed a caterer," I thought. "You got one." "Mom, don't be difficult. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry about what I said. Your cooking is fine. It's great. Just please." "I'm having Thanksgiving dinner, Nicole, with people who wanted me here." "What people? Who's there?" I turned my phone to show her the scene through video call. Her face filled the screen. Perfect as always. Hair in an elaborate updo, makeup flawless, wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than my mortgage payment. She looked at my screen, at my guests, and her expression shifted. Confusion, then something that looked almost like hurt. "Who are these people?" she whispered. "My Thanksgiving guests, the ones who appreciated an invitation." "Mom, this isn't funny. I need you." "No." The word came out stronger than I expected. "No, Nicole. What? You made it very clear I'm not sophisticated enough for your life, that my cooking isn't good enough, that I don't fit." I took a breath. "I didn't mean—" "You did mean it. And that's okay. You're entitled to want a different kind of life. But I'm entitled to spend my Thanksgiving with people who actually want me there." Liam's voice in the background louder now. "Is she serious right now? Tell her about the investment she owes us." "Investment. The text about $30,000. "Mom, I have to go," I said. "My guests need dessert." "Mother, please." I ended the call. My hands were shaking. David appeared at my elbow, steadying me with a gentle hand on my shoulder. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "I think so." I took a breath. "Actually, yes, I'm okay." We served dessert. The students argued good-naturedly about which pie was best. Chloe and Ethan got whipped cream mustaches. Mrs. Rodriguez taught Jessica a lullaby her own mother had sung to her. My phone buzzed. Text messages one after another. "Nicole. This is unbelievable, Nicole. You're really going to embarrass me like this." "Nicole, fine. We'll figure it out ourselves." Then a message from a number I didn't recognize. "Liam, we need to talk about your will and the college fund we discussed for the kids." I stared at that message for a long time. There it was. The real reason they kept me around. Financial backup. Emergency grandmother services. The bank of Mom. I didn't block the numbers. Not yet. But I didn't respond either. Instead, I put my phone in my pocket and returned to my guests. "Grandma," the small voice startled me. I turned to find a little girl who wasn't mine standing there. Chloe, Jessica's daughter. "Can I have more pie, please?" She held up her plate with both hands like it was precious. "Of course, sweetheart. Which kind? Apple. It tastes like home." I cut her another slice, watching as her whole face lit up. "What does home taste like to you?" She thought carefully. "Like when someone loves you. Like safe." I had to turn away to wipe my eyes. After dinner, we played charades in the living room. Mrs. Rodriguez was surprisingly good at acting out movie titles. Hassan taught everyone how to fold paper cranes, explaining how in his country 1,000 cranes brought good luck. "I have made 743 since I came to America," he said. "Whenever I feel lonely or scared, I fold a crane." "What do you do with them?" Chen Wei asked. "I send them to my family, through the mail, so they know I am thinking of them." Marcus shared that he was struggling to pay for next semester. "I'm thinking of dropping out, getting a job, maybe going back to school later." "Don't," Priya said fiercely. "You're so close to finishing." "But I can't afford—" David and I exchanged a glance. I thought of the $30,000 Nicole wanted, for Liam's investment, for their sophisticated life. "Marcus," I said slowly, "what if there was a scholarship for students who needed just a little help to finish?" His eyes widened. I've applied to everything available." "I'm thinking of something new," I said. "Something local. Let me look into it." The young couple, Mia and Tom, fell asleep on my couch, exhausted from new parenthood. We all took turns holding baby Lily while they napped, passing her around like she belonged to all of us. "This is what it takes a village means," Jessica whispered, watching her children play with David in the yard. As people started leaving, they hugged me, really hugged me. Thank you, Priya said, crying. You have no idea what this meant. I was going to spend Thanksgiving alone in my dorm room. Can we do this again next year? Mrs. Rodriguez asked hopefully. Absolutely, I heard myself say, and I meant it. Hassan was the last of the students to leave. He pressed something into my hand, a paper crane perfectly folded. For you, he said, because you gave me a home today, even if just for a few hours. David helped me clean up after everyone had gone. We worked in comfortable silence, washing dishes side by side. You know, he said quietly, what you did today was extraordinary. I just made dinner. No, he set down the dish he was drying and turned to me. You created a family, out of strangers, out of people who were lonely and lost. You gave them something precious. They gave me something too, I said. They reminded me that I matter, that I have value, that I don't need someone else to tell me I'm enough. He took my hand, just held it, his thumb tracing gentle circles on my palm. Nancy, I've been alone for 2 years. I thought I'd gotten used to it. But being here today with you, helping you create this beautiful thing, he paused. I don't want to be alone anymore. My heart did something strange, a flutter I hadn't felt in 5 years. David, I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I just wanted you to know. You're remarkable. Your daughter doesn't know what she's missing. After he left, I sat alone in my quiet house, looked at the empty plates, the leftover food carefully packaged for my guests to take home, the paper crane Hassan had given me. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Grandma, it's Emma. I'm using Dad's old phone. Mom doesn't know I'm calling. My heart jumped. Emma, my sweet granddaughter. Emma, honey, are you okay? I'm okay. Her voice was small, sad. Grandma, I'm sorry about Thanksgiving. I wanted you there. I told Mom, but she said it was grown-up stuff, and I wouldn't understand. It's not your fault, sweetheart. Mom's really upset. She's been crying. Dad's yelling about money and business and stuff I don't get. The caterer's food was weird. Nobody ate it. Jake spit his out and Dad got really mad. I closed my eyes, pictured my 7-year-old grandson confused and probably hungry. Grandma, Emma's voice was even smaller now. Can I still come visit you? Just me, I miss you. I looked at the half-finished green sweater on my table, at the matching one I'd started for Jake. Always, I said firmly. My door is always open for you and Jake. Always. Even though Mom and Dad were mean. You're not responsible for your parents' choices, Emma. I love you. That doesn't change. I love you too, Grandma. A pause. I have to go. I hear Mom coming. Bye. The line went dead. I sat there in the silence holding the phone. Then I picked up Emma's sweater and started knitting again. Emma would get her sweater for Christmas. Jake would get his. Because they were children and they deserved traditions. Someone had to show them what unconditional love looked like. But Nicole and Liam, they'd get a card. Just a card. I made a list. Wrote it in my careful teacher's handwriting. To do, call Rebecca Chen, estate attorney. Revise will. Remove Nicole as beneficiary. Set up trust for Emma and Jake, accessible at age 25. Remove Nicole from all bank accounts. Research scholarship fund for PCC students. Sign up for watercolor class David mentioned. Book flight to visit sister in Arizona. Look into volunteer opportunities. Then I added one more line. Stop waiting for Nicole to see my worth. Start living for myself. The following Monday morning, I called Rebecca Chen's law office. Nancy Fletcher to see Ms. Chen, I told the receptionist. I need to discuss updating my estate documents. Of course, Mrs. Fletcher. Ms. Chen has an opening tomorrow at 10. Would that work? It would. That afternoon, David knocked on my door with 2 cups of coffee from the cafe down the street. Thought you might need this, he said. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd sat with Nicole 1,000 times, where I'd helped her with homework and listened to her teenage heartbreaks and celebrated her college acceptance. I made a decision, I told David. I'm changing my will. He nodded slowly. That's a big step. Nicole texted me 17 times yesterday, all about the money. Nothing about how she treated me. Nothing about what she said. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup. Liam left me a voicemail saying I was selfish and ungrateful for not helping them. Helping them? David's voice was sharp. You raised Nicole, alone after Robert died, put her through college. From what you've told me, you've been helping her entire life. That's different, apparently. I pulled out my phone, showed him the latest message. Nicole, Mom, I can't believe you're being so petty about this. It's just money. Don't you want Jake and Emma to have opportunities? Liam's investment could triple in value. We'd pay you back with interest. David read it, his expression darkening. Just money, Nancy. $30,000 is a third of your retirement savings. I know. I set down my cup. And that's not even the worst part. Look at this one. I scrolled to a message from 3 hours ago. Liam, Nancy, I'm trying to be patient here, but you're putting my family at risk. The investment window closes Friday. If you really loved your grandchildren, you'd help secure their future. This is what family does. That's manipulation, David said flatly. Financial elder abuse starts exactly like this. I'd been thinking the same thing, hadn't wanted to name it. There's more, I said quietly. I showed him my bank statement. This is the account I opened for Nicole when she was 16. For emergencies. I'm still listed as primary. She's an authorized user. David studied the screen. His face went pale. She withdrew money. 3 days before Thanksgiving. $5,000. She didn't ask. She just took it. The silence stretched between us. Nancy, this is theft. Technically, she has legal access. But not moral access. Not without asking. He set the phone down carefully like it might explode. What are you going to do? Tomorrow, I'm closing that account. And I'm talking to Rebecca about protecting the rest. Rebecca Chen's office was in a converted Victorian house downtown. Professional, but warm. Photos of her family lined the walls. Husband, 2 teenagers, an elderly woman I assumed was her mother. Mrs. Fletcher. She greeted me, shaking my hand firmly. Please sit. Tell me what brings you in. I told her everything. About Thanksgiving. About the demands for money. About the unauthorized withdrawal. Rebecca took notes, her expression carefully neutral. When I finished, she set down her pen. I need to ask you some difficult questions, she said. And I need you to be completely honest with me. Of course. Has Nicole or Liam ever threatened you? Made you feel unsafe? No, nothing like that. Have they pressured you to sign any documents, power of attorney, deed transfers, anything financial? I thought back. Last year, Liam suggested I add them to the deed of my house. For estate planning purposes, he said. I told him I'd think about it. Rebecca made a note. Good. You didn't sign anything? No. That's very good, Nancy. She leaned forward. What I'm going to tell you isn't easy to hear, but you need to know. What you're describing, the financial demands, the unauthorized withdrawal, the isolation from family events, the emotional manipulation, these are warning signs. Warning signs of what? Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Now you're clearly not vulnerable in the traditional sense. You're mentally sharp, financially literate, but your emotional vulnerability to your daughter makes you a target. The word hit me like a slap. Target. You're saying my daughter is targeting me. Rebecca's expression softened. I'm saying people we love can hurt us without meaning to. Sometimes they convince themselves they're doing the right thing, but intent doesn't change impact. She pulled out a folder. Here's what I recommend. First, we revise your will. Remove Nicole as executor and beneficiary. Set up a trust for your grandchildren that she can't access. Second, we close any joint accounts. Third, we set up protections so no one can pressure you to make financial decisions. What kind of protections? A clause stating that any changes to your estate plan require a 72-hour waiting period in consultation with me. It protects you from making decisions under duress. I nodded slowly. And the money she took. You could report it. File a police report for unauthorized withdrawal. I don't want to get my daughter arrested. I understand. But Nancy, you need to document this. Create a paper trail. Because if this escalates, and in my experience it often does, you'll need proof. I left Rebecca's office 2 hours later with a new will, closed bank accounts, and a sick feeling in my stomach. My daughter. My baby girl. The one I'd rocked through nightmares and celebrated at every milestone. How had we gotten here? That evening, David brought over dinner. Homemade lasagna. You didn't have to, I protested, but I was grateful. I hadn't eaten all day. I wanted to, he said simply. How did it go with the lawyer? I told him. All of it. I keep thinking about when Nicole was little. I said, pushing lasagna around my plate. She was so sweet, so thoughtful. When Robert died, she was 17. She took care of me, made sure I ate, helped me get through the funeral. What changed, Liam? The name felt bitter in my mouth. When she first brought him home, he seemed nice, charming, from a wealthy family in Boston. His mother, Patricia, came to the wedding wearing a dress that cost more than my car. I paused, remembering. Patricia pulled me aside at the reception, said Nicole was marrying up and needed to adapt to their world. She said it like it was advice, but what she meant was, your daughter isn't good enough for us. David reached across the table and took my hand. And Nicole started changing, I continued. Little things at first. Stopped calling as much. Started correcting my grammar. Bought expensive clothes. That big house in West Hills that they couldn't really afford. Keeping up appearances, David said quietly. I think Nicole's been trying so hard to fit into Liam's world that she forgot where she came from. And now I'm a reminder. The teacher mother, the small house, the not sophisticated enough cooking. My phone rang. Nicole, I stared at it. You don't have to answer, David said. But I did. I needed to. Mom, Nicole's voice was tight, strained. We need to talk, in person. Can I come over? When? Now. I'm already in your driveway. I looked at David. He squeezed my hand once, then stood. I'll go, unless you want me to stay. Part of me wanted him to stay, but this was between Nicole and me. I'll be okay, I said. But thank you. He kissed my forehead, a gesture so gentle it made my eyes sting, and left through the back door. I opened the front door. Nicole stood on my porch, and she looked terrible. No makeup, hair in a messy ponytail, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt instead of her usual designer outfits. Her eyes were red and swollen. Can I come in? She asked quietly. I stepped aside. We sat at the kitchen table, the same place we'd sat 1,000 times before, but now it felt like a battlefield. Mom, She stopped, started again. I'm sorry. For what exactly? For Thanksgiving. For what I said about your cooking. She looked down at her hands. For everything. Why now, Nicole? Why are you sorry now? Because I lost the Hastings account. Richard Hastings, Liam's big client, he canceled. Said if we treated family like that, he didn't want to work with us. There it was. She wasn't sorry for hurting me. She was sorry for the consequences. And Liam's furious, she continued. He's been sleeping in the guest room. We're fighting constantly. The house payment is due and we don't have the money, and she looked up at me. Mom, I need help. You need money? Yes, the $30,000. Please, I'm desperate. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone, showed her my bank statement, the one where $5,000 had disappeared. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Her face went white. Mom, I can explain. You took money from me without asking. That's theft, Nicole. I was going to pay it back. Liam needed it for the caterer deposit, and I panicked, and you thought your mother's money was yours to take. Tears streamed down her face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. Please just help me fix this. By giving you more money, yes, please, Mom. If we don't make this house payment, we could lose the house. Emma and Jake could lose their home. There it was. The manipulation Rebecca had warned me about. Using the grandchildren as leverage. Nicole, how much debt are you in? She looked away. How much? With the mortgage, Liam's car loan, credit cards. About $400,000. I felt the air leave my lungs. $400,000. Liam said the investment opportunities would pay off, that we needed to look successful to attract successful clients. But then the Hastings account fell through, and she covered her face with her hands. I don't know what to do. For a moment, just a moment, I almost caved, almost reached for my checkbook. Then I remembered. The unauthorized withdrawal, the dismissal at Thanksgiving, the years of being made to feel less than. I can't help you, I said quietly. What? I can't give you the money, Nicole. But I'm your daughter. Exactly. You're my daughter, and I've been helping you your entire life. I put you through college, helped with the down payment on your first apartment. Babysat Emma and Jake for free thousands of hours. I've been there for every crisis, every need. I stood up, walked to the counter, picked up the list I'd made after Thanksgiving. But you know what you've never asked me, Nicole? You've never asked how I'm doing, if I have enough money to retire comfortably, if I'm lonely, if I need help. Mom, you uninvited me from Thanksgiving because I wasn't sophisticated enough. You told me my cooking, the cooking I learned from my mother and her mother before her, was embarrassing. You made me feel small. I didn't mean... And then when your sophisticated dinner failed, you called me to bail you out. Not because you missed me, not because you love me, but because you needed something. Nicole was crying openly now. Please don't do this. Please. I'm not doing anything, Nicole. You did this. You chose Liam's world over your family. You chose appearances over relationships. You chose money over love. That's not fair, isn't it? I sat back down, looked her in the eye. When was the last time you asked about my life? When was the last time you came over just to visit? When was the last time you said thank you? Silence. I closed the joint account, I said. The money you took, I can't get it back. But you won't be able to take any more. Mom, please. And I've revised my will. The house will go to charity. My retirement savings will go into a trust for Emma and Jake, accessible when they turn 25. You won't get anything. Her face crumpled. You're cutting me out completely. I'm protecting myself, and I'm protecting your children from growing up thinking they can use people for money. This is about money. No. I stood up again, went to the window, looked out at my small, comfortable house, my garden, my life. This is about respect. This is about love being a two-way street. This is about me finally realizing that I deserve better than to be someone's ATM. I love you, Mom. Maybe you do, but you don't respect me. And I won't live the rest of my life feeling like I'm not enough. Nicole stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. So that's it, you're just done with me. I'm done being taken for granted. I'm done being your backup plan. I'm done apologizing for not being the mother you wish I was. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she turned and walked to the door. You'll regret this, she said, her voice cold. Maybe, but at least I'll regret it with my dignity intact. She left without another word. I stood at the window and watched her drive away, watched my daughter leave, possibly for the last time. And then I sat down at my kitchen table and cried. David came back an hour later, let himself in through the back door the way I'd told him he could. He didn't say anything, just pulled me into his arms and let me cry. I cut her out, I said into his shoulder. My only daughter. You protected yourself, he corrected gently. What if I made a mistake? What if she really needs help? Nancy, he pulled back, looked at me. You can't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, even if that someone is your child. She's drowning in debt. And you throwing her a rope won't help if she won't swim. She has to want to change. She has to realize that the life she's built isn't sustainable. I knew he was right, but knowing didn't make it hurt less. What if Emma and Jake hate me for this? They won't. Kids are smarter than we think. They see what's real. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mrs. Fletcher, this is Patricia Hastings, Liam's mother. We need to talk. Can you meet me tomorrow 10 a.m. at Powell's Books Cafe, Patricia, Nicole's mother-in-law, the woman who'd looked down on my daughter from day one. What does she want? David asked, reading over my shoulder. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Powell's Books was crowded for a Tuesday morning. Tourists and students browsing the endless shelves. The cafe was on the third floor overlooking Burnside Street. Patricia Hastings sat at a corner table. She was exactly as I remembered from the wedding, perfectly coiffed, silver hair, designer clothes, an air of wealth and authority. She stood when she saw me, extended her hand. Nancy, thank you for coming. I shook her hand warily, sat down across from her. I assume this is about Nicole and Liam, I said. It is. She folded her hands on the table. But not in the way you think. I'm not here to defend my son. That surprised me. Then why are you here? Patricia took a breath. Because I owe you an apology, and because you need to know the truth about Liam. She pulled a manila envelope from her purse, slid it across the table. What is this? Bank statements, credit card bills, gambling receipts. Her voice was tight. My son has a problem, Nancy. A serious one. I opened the envelope, stared at the documents inside. Casino visits, online betting accounts, losses totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars. He's addicted to gambling, Patricia said. Has been for 5 years. We thought we had it under control. We paid off his debts twice, made him go to therapy, but he just got better at hiding it. Does Nicole know? She knows he likes to gamble. She doesn't know how bad it is. Patricia's hands trembled slightly. The investment opportunity he told you about, it doesn't exist. He needs the money to cover his gambling debts. I felt sick. Why are you telling me this? Because Nicole is in danger. Not physical danger. Liam isn't violent. But financial danger. He's dragging her down with him. The house is mortgaged to the limit. Their credit cards are maxed out. And he keeps telling her it's just temporary, that one big win will fix everything. And you want me to give them money? God, no. Patricia looked horrified. I want you to protect yourself. And I want to help Nicole get out. Get out. Leave him. I've already spoken to my lawyer. I'm prepared to help her file for divorce. Help her get custody of the children. But she needs to be willing. I stared at this woman who'd made my daughter feel inferior, who'd pushed her to be someone she wasn't. Why now? I asked. Why are you suddenly on Nicole's side? Patricia's eyes filled with tears. Because I see myself in her. 30 years ago, I was married to a man like Liam, my first husband. He gambled away our savings, nearly destroyed my life, and when I finally left him, my own mother told me I'd made my bed and had to lie in it. She wiped her eyes. I don't want Nicole to suffer like I did. I know I've been hard on her. I pushed her to fit into our world, to live up to impossible standards. I made her feel like she wasn't good enough. She looked at me directly. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. I didn't know what to say. I'm divorcing my second husband, Patricia continued. Charles, the man I married for money and status instead of love. I'm 72 years old, and I'm finally learning that wealth without happiness is just gilded misery. She reached across the table, took my hand. Nancy, I know you're angry with Nicole. You have every right to be, but she needs help. Real help, not money. Help getting away from my son before he destroys her completely. What do you want me to do? Be there for her when she's ready, because she will be ready, eventually. And when she is, she'll need her mother. I left Powell's books with Patricia's envelope and a head full of confusion. David was waiting in my living room when I got home. He'd let himself in with the key I'd given him. How did it go? He asked. I showed him the envelope, told him everything Patricia had said. Gambling addiction, he said quietly. That explains a lot. It doesn't excuse what Nicole did to me. No, but it provides context. I sat down heavily on the couch. Patricia wants me to be ready to help Nicole when she leaves Liam. But David, I don't know if I can. I'm still so hurt. He sat beside me, put his arm around my shoulders. You don't have to decide now. Take your time. Feel your feelings. I'm angry, I admitted. I'm so angry that Nicole chose him, that she pushed me away, that she made me feel small and insignificant. That's valid. But I'm also sad, because she's my daughter, and she's in trouble, and part of me wants to save her. Also valid. How do I do both? How do I protect myself and still be there for her? David was quiet for a moment. You set boundaries. You tell her what you need from her, and you make it clear that your help is conditional on her respecting those boundaries. What if she can't do that? Then you walk away, and that's okay too. We sat in silence for a while. Then David said, Marcus called me today. The student from Thanksgiving, the one whose grandmother used to make turkey like mine. Yes, he wanted to thank you again. Said that meal gave him hope when he was about to give up. David paused. Nancy, you have people in your life who appreciate you, who see your worth. Don't let Nicole's inability to see it diminish that. He was right. I knew he was right. But knowing and feeling are two different things. 3 days later, on Friday morning, my phone rang. Emma. Grandma. Her voice was small, scared. Emma, honey, what's wrong? Mom and Dad are fighting. Really bad. Dad threw a glass and it broke, and Mom is crying, and... She stopped. I heard muffled voices in the background. Emma, are you safe? Is anyone hurt? No, but Grandma, I'm scared. Where are you right now? In my room with Jake. We locked the door like Mom taught us. My heart was pounding. Okay, good. Stay there. Keep the door locked. I'm going to call your mom, okay? Okay. I love you, sweetheart. Love you too, Grandma. I hung up and immediately called Nicole. It rang 4 times before she answered. What? Her voice was rough, like she'd been crying. Emma just called me. She said you and Liam are fighting, that he threw something. It's fine. We're fine. Nicole, are you safe? I said we're fine. Then quieter, I have to go. Nicole, wait, but she'd already hung up. I stood there gripping my phone, feeling helpless and terrified. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I called Patricia. Nancy? She answered on the first ring. Liam and Nicole are fighting. Emma called me. She said he threw glass. I don't know if Nicole's safe. I'm on my way, Patricia said immediately. What's the address? I gave it to her. I'll call you when I get there. Nancy, thank you for telling me. An hour later, Patricia called back. I'm here. Nicole and the children are coming with me. Is she hurt? No, shaken up, scared, but physically okay. A pause. Liam's not here. He left after the fight. Nicole doesn't know where he went. What happens now? Now she stays with me. We get her and the kids safe. We figure out next steps. Another pause. She wants to talk to you. My stomach clenched. Put her on. Rustling. Then Nicole's voice. Mom, I'm here. I'm sorry. She was crying. I'm so sorry. You were right. About everything. About Liam, about the money, about... Her voice broke. I don't know how this happened. I don't know how I got here. It's okay, I heard myself say. We'll figure it out. I don't deserve your help. No, I agreed. You probably don't, but I'm your mother, and you're in trouble. So I'm going to help you anyway. Why? Because that's what mothers do, even when their daughters break their hearts. She sobbed, full broken sobs that made my own tears fall. But Nicole, I continued, things have to change. We need to talk, really talk, about boundaries and respect and what I need from you. Okay, she whispered. Anything. I'll do anything. For now, just stay with Patricia. Keep Emma and Jake safe. We'll figure out the rest later. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. After I hung up, I stood in my kitchen for a long time, looking at the half-finished sweaters, the photo albums, the life I'd built, and I realized something. Loving someone doesn't mean accepting poor treatment. Helping someone doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. Being a mother doesn't mean being a doormat. I picked up my phone and texted David. Can you come over? I need to talk. He arrived 15 minutes later with takeout Chinese food and that gentle smile. You're going to help her, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes, but on my terms. Good. We ate lo mein straight from the containers and talked about what came next. I'm thinking, I said slowly, about offering Nicole a place to stay, her and the kids, temporarily, while she gets back on her feet. Yes. It'll be crowded and awkward and probably painful. I paused. But she's my daughter, and those are my grandchildren, and they need somewhere safe. David reached over and squeezed my hand. You're remarkable, you know that. I'm just doing what needs to be done. No, he said firmly. You're choosing love, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. That's not just that's extraordinary. Later that night, alone in my house, I pulled out my journal. Dear Robert, I wrote, our daughter is in trouble. She made some bad choices, married the wrong man, lost herself trying to be someone she's not. And now she needs help. I'm going to help her. Not because she deserves it, not because she asked nicely, but because she's our daughter. And because I remember what you always said, family isn't about perfection, it's about showing up. So I'm showing up, but I'm showing up differently this time, with boundaries, with self-respect, with the knowledge that I can love her without losing myself. I wish you were here. You always knew what to say. You always knew how to balance being supportive and being firm. But I think I'm learning. I think I'm finally learning that I can be both a good mother and a whole person. I miss you. But I'm okay. Really okay. Love, Nancy. I closed the journal and looked at the paper crane Hassan had given me. 743 cranes, he'd said, folded whenever he felt lonely or scared. I picked up a piece of paper from my printer and pulled up a YouTube tutorial on my laptop. By the time I went to bed, I'd folded my first crane. It wasn't perfect. The corners didn't quite meet. The wings weren't symmetrical, but it was mine, and it was enough. The Thanksgiving Betrayal, Part 3, Rewritten Word Count Target, 7,000 words. Dad. Nicole moved in on a gray Sunday morning in early December. She arrived in Patricia's Mercedes, not the BMW she and Liam had leased. Emma and Jake tumbled out first, running up my walkway like they used to when they were smaller before everything got complicated. "Grandma!" Emma threw her arms around me with such force I stumbled back a step. "We're going to live with you. Mom said we can stay as long as we need." Jake, always quieter than his sister, pressed his face into my side. At 7 years old, he was still young enough to seek comfort without embarrassment. "I missed you so much, Grandma. I missed your house. I missed your cookies." "I missed you too, buddy." I kissed the top of his head, breathing in that little boy smell of him shampoo and something sweet, maybe maple syrup from breakfast. "And we'll make cookies today if you want." "Can we make the ones with chocolate chips and peanut butter?" "We can make whatever you want." Nicole got out last, moving slowly like each step required conscious thought. She looked small, somehow diminished in a way that had nothing to do with physical size. Her eyes were shadowed with dark circles, her face pale without the usual careful makeup. She wore old jeans and a faded college sweatshirt I remembered from years ago, back when she was still herself, before she tried to become someone else. Patricia helped carry suitcases up the walkway. Even in casual clothes, she maintained that air of elegance, but something had softened in her, too. "I packed what they needed for now," she said quietly, her voice low enough that the kids wouldn't hear. "Clothes, toiletries, some toys for the children. The rest is in storage. The court granted the restraining order yesterday. Liam's not allowed within 500 feet of Nicole or the kids." "He didn't actually hurt anyone," Nicole said quickly. Too quickly, with that defensive tone victims often use. "He just scared us. That's all. He threw the glass at the wall, not at us. He would never—" "Fear is hurt, Nicole," Patricia interrupted gently but firmly. "Emotional wounds are still wounds." Nicole looked away and I saw her jaw clench. She wasn't ready to hear that yet. Maybe later. "Come inside," I said, opening the door wider. "It's cold out here, and I've got hot chocolate on the stove." My small house suddenly felt very crowded. I'd spent 5 years living alone since Robert died, and before that it had been just the two of us for 40 years. Now there were children's voices echoing off the walls, suitcases piled in the hallway, coats draped over chairs. Emma and Jake would share the guest room, the one with the double bed and the window overlooking the back garden. Nicole would take my sewing room, which I'd already cleared out yesterday, moving my fabric and supplies down to the basement. It wasn't much space, barely room for a twin bed, a small dresser and a reading lamp, but it was private. It was safe. "I'll leave you to settle in," Patricia said at the door, pulling Nicole into a hug that lasted longer than expected. "Call me if you need anything. Anything at all. I mean that." "Thank you," Nicole whispered into Patricia's shoulder. "For everything. For believing me. For helping us get out. Thank you for finally trusting me enough to ask for help." Patricia pulled back, holding Nicole at arm's length. "You're stronger than you know. Remember that." After Patricia left, silence descended like a heavy blanket. Nicole stood in my living room, looking lost, her arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold herself together through sheer force of will. The kids had already disappeared upstairs, and I could hear them excitedly discussing how to arrange their shared room. "Mom, Nicole started. "Not yet," I interrupted gently but firmly. "First, let's get you settled. Get everyone unpacked. Have some lunch. We'll talk later, when you're ready." Relief flooded her face. "Okay, thank you. I don't think I can. I'm not ready to." "I know, sweetheart. Take your time." She nodded, tears spilling over, and headed upstairs to her small room. That first week was strange, awkward in ways I hadn't anticipated. We moved around each other carefully like dancers learning new steps, constantly aware of where the other person was trying not to collide. Nicole stayed in her room, mostly only coming out for meals or when the kids needed her. I heard her crying at night through the thin walls, deep broken sobs that she tried to muffle with pillows. Heard her on the phone with lawyers, with the divorce mediator, with therapists, her voice strained and exhausted. Sometimes I stood outside her door, my hand raised to knock, wanting to offer comfort. But I always stopped. She needed space to feel everything she was feeling. And honestly, I needed space too. The hurt of what she'd done, the Thanksgiving exclusion, the stolen money, the years of subtle dismissal was still too fresh. Emma and Jake adjusted faster than I expected. Children are resilient in ways adults forget how to be. Emma helped me make dinner every night, standing on a step stool to reach the counter, carefully measuring ingredients with the seriousness of a surgeon. She asked endless questions about every recipe. Why do we add salt to sweet things, Grandma? Because salt enhances other flavors, makes them taste more like themselves. Like how bad things can make good things feel better. I paused in my stirring, struck by her insight. Yes, honey, exactly like that. Jake followed David around whenever he came over, which was almost daily. David had taken to the kids immediately with the natural ease of someone who'd been a teacher for 40 years. He answered Jake's endless questions about history and books and why the sky was blue and how planes stayed up and whether George Washington really had wooden teeth. Mr. David, Jake asked one evening while we were making dinner, why do people fight if they love each other? David knelt down to Jake's level, his expression serious. That's a very good question, buddy. Sometimes people fight because they're scared or hurt or don't know how to say what they really feel. But fighting doesn't mean they don't love each other. Did you ever fight with your wife before she died? Sometimes, but we always made sure to say sorry and fix it. He paused. And we never ever fought in ways that scared each other. That's important. Jake nodded thoughtfully, processing this information, the way children do, carefully cataloging it for future reference. On Friday evening, 6 days after they'd moved in, Nicole finally emerged from her room looking different. She'd showered, washed, and styled her hair, changed into clean clothes that actually fit properly, instead of the oversized sweats she'd been living in. She looked more like herself, though still fragile, like expensive china with hairline cracks. Mom, her voice was tentative. Can we talk now if you're ready? David was over helping Jake build an elaborate castle out of blocks in the living room. Emma was upstairs doing homework. He caught my eye and nodded slightly. I'll keep the kids busy. Go. Nicole and I went to the kitchen, sat at that table again. The same table where we'd sat thousands of times before. Where I'd helped her with math homework when she was 8. Where we'd planned her wedding when she was 25. Where I'd held her hand when she told me Robert had died. This table had witnessed every important conversation of our relationship. Now it would witness this one. I don't know where to start, she said, her hands clasped so tightly together her knuckles were white. Start anywhere, I said. Start with what you need to say most. She took a shaky breath. I need to tell you about Liam, about the gambling, about all of it. Okay. Patricia told you some of it, but there's more. She looked down at her hands. I found out about this gambling 3 years ago. Not the full extent, but enough to know it was a problem. He promised me he'd stop. Promised he'd go to therapy. And for a while I believed him. But he didn't stop. No, he just got better at hiding it. Better at lying. Her voice cracked. And I got better at making excuses. At pretending everything was fine. At keeping up appearances because admitting the truth meant admitting I'd made a terrible mistake. I waited, letting her find her words. The house in West Hills, we couldn't afford it. Not really. But Liam insisted we needed to live in the right neighborhood, project the right image. He said you can't attract wealthy clients if you don't look wealthy yourself. She laughed bitterly. So we bought this enormous house with a mortgage that ate up most of our income. And then there were the cars, the private schools for the kids, the country club membership we never used. All to maintain an image. Yes. And every month we'd go further into debt. Credit cards maxed out, then paid off with other credit cards. Loans from his parents, which we'd pay back with loans from someone else. This endless cycle of borrowing and spending and pretending. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. And I knew, Mom. I knew we were drowning. But I couldn't admit it. Because admitting it meant facing the fact that my perfect life was a lie. That my perfect husband was an addict. That I'd chosen wrong. Why didn't you tell me? I asked quietly. Why didn't you ask for help? Because you'd supported me marrying Liam. You never said a bad word about him, even though I could tell you had doubts at first. And I thought if I told you it wasn't working, you'd either say I told you so, or you'd judge me for giving up. She wiped her eyes. And honestly, I was ashamed. So deeply ashamed that I couldn't make it work. Nicole, I I know that now, but then I was so deep in it. The debt, the pressure, the constant stress of trying to keep up appearances. And Patricia made it worse. How? Nicole took a ragged breath. She'd make these comments. Little digs about my background, my family, the way I dressed or spoke. Nothing overtly cruel, just these subtle suggestions that I needed to be better, more polished, more sophisticated, more like her. She told you that your family wasn't good enough. She didn't have to say it directly. It was in every look, every correction, every suggestion for improvement. And eventually I started to believe it. Started to believe that my upbringing was something to be ashamed of. That you were something to be ashamed of. The words hung between us, harsh and honest. Is that why you uninvited me from Thanksgiving? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Yes. She was crying openly now. Mom, Patricia was coming to that dinner. She'd never come to our house before, always made excuses, always had other plans. But this time Liam convinced her to come because his big client would be there. And I panicked. Because you thought I would embarrass you. Because I thought she would judge me for having a mother who wasn't... She choked on the words. Who wasn't sophisticated enough. Who was just a retired teacher from a small house in a modest neighborhood. Who made comfort food instead of haute cuisine. So you made me feel exactly the way Patricia made you feel. Nicole's face crumpled. Oh God, I did, didn't I? I became exactly what I hated. I took all that shame and judgment and I turned it on you, the one person who'd always loved me unconditionally. Yes, I said simply. You did. We sat in silence for a long moment. Outside, I could hear David and Jake laughing about something. Normal life continuing while we dealt with the hard parts. The money I took from the joint account, Nicole said finally. I need you to know why. Liam needed it for the caterer. That's what I told you. But it wasn't true. She looked at me directly. He needed it to pay off a gambling debt. A loan shark type, not literally, but a guy who'd loaned him money and was threatening to tell his business partners. Liam said if I didn't get the money, his career would be over. Our family would be ruined. So you stole from me. I didn't think of it as stealing. The account had both our names. I had legal access. She paused. But morally, you're right. It was theft. I took something that wasn't mine without permission. I violated your trust. Why didn't you just ask me? Because I knew you'd say no. Or worse, you'd ask why we needed it, and then I'd have to tell you the truth about Liam. And I couldn't do that. Couldn't admit that my marriage was falling apart, that we were drowning in debt, that everything was a lie. I absorbed this feeling, the full weight of her deception. Not just the money, but the layers of lies built on top of lies. When did you realize you needed to leave him? I asked. Thanksgiving night, after you refused to come help us. She smiled weakly. You were the first person who'd ever said no to me, who'd set a boundary and stuck to it. And I was furious, absolutely furious. I remember. But then I watched the video you showed me. Saw your house full of people. Saw you laughing and happy and so clearly not needing me. And I realized you were fine without me. Better than fine. You'd built this whole community, this whole life, and I wasn't part of it. That hurt you. It terrified me, because if you didn't need me anymore, where did that leave me? Who was I if not Nancy's daughter? She wiped her eyes again. And then Liam started yelling, blaming me for not convincing you to help, calling you names, saying terrible things about you. And for the first time, instead of making excuses for him, I heard him. Really heard him. And I thought, this man is cruel. This man I married, the father of my children, is genuinely cruel. What happened then? I told him to stop. Told him he had no right to talk about you that way. And he... She paused, her breath catching. He told me to shut up. Said I was just like you, provincial and unsophisticated and an embarrassment. Said the only thing I had going for me was that you had money we could access. He knew about your trust, about my retirement savings. I'd told him, years ago when we first got married. I thought I was being open, sharing my family's financial situation. She laughed bitterly. I didn't realize I was giving him a target. The text about the $30,000 that was him pushing you to ask me. Yes, the investment opportunity was fake. It was all fake. He just needed money to cover gambling debts, and he'd already exhausted every other option. His parents had cut him off. The banks wouldn't loan us more. I was the last source of money. And when I said no, he lost it. Completely lost it. Started throwing things, punching walls, screaming that I'd ruined everything. Emma and Jake were so scared, Mom. They locked themselves in Emma's room and I could hear them crying through the door. And I thought I did this. I brought this man into their lives. I let it get to this point. That's when you called Patricia. Yes. She came immediately. Helped me pack. Got the restraining order. Called her lawyer about divorce proceedings. Nicole looked at me. She saved us, Mom. The woman I'd been trying so hard to impress, who I thought looked down on me, she saved us when it mattered most. People can surprise you. She told me something when we were packing. She said she'd been married to someone like Liam before, her first husband before Charles, and that her own mother had refused to help her leave, told her she'd made her bed and had to lie in it. Nicole's voice softened. She said she didn't want me to suffer like she had. That's why she's been so different lately. Softer, kinder. She's learning too. We all are. Nicole reached across the table, took my hand tentatively like she wasn't sure I'd let her. Mom, I need to ask you something and I need you to be honest. Okay. Can you forgive me? Not now necessarily, but eventually. Can we come back from this? I looked at our joined hands. Her fingers were cold, trembling slightly. I thought about everything that had happened. The hurt, the betrayal, the years of slowly being made to feel less than. I thought about Emma's scared phone call, about Jake's question about why people who love each other fight, about Nicole's broken sobs through the walls at night. I don't know, I said honestly. I want to say yes, but Nicole, you didn't just hurt me once. You hurt me consistently over years. Little cuts that added up to deep wounds, and I need time to heal from that. She nodded, not pulling her hand away. That's fair. That's more than fair. But I continued, I can tell you this, I'm willing to try. I'm willing to work toward forgiveness, toward rebuilding trust. But it has to be different this time. Different how? You living here is temporary. 6 months, maybe a year, while you get back on your feet financially. You'll contribute what you can to expenses, food, utilities. You'll respect my space and my time and my boundaries. Okay, yes, of course. And you'll go to therapy. Real therapy, not just a few sessions. Ongoing work to deal with the trauma of this marriage, to understand why you made the choices you made, to learn healthier patterns. I already started. Patricia connected me with Dr. Sarah Martinez. I've had 2 sessions. Good, that's good. I squeezed her hand. And one more thing. You need to be honest with Emma and Jake. Age-appropriate honesty, but real. They need to understand that what happened with Liam wasn't their fault, that you're getting help, that things are going to be different now. They're so young. They're old enough to know something was terribly wrong, and they need to hear from you that it's being fixed, that you're taking responsibility. I paused. Kids can handle truth better than they can handle lies and uncertainty. Nicole's tears fell freely now, but she didn't look away. You're right, about all of it. Mom, I'm so sorry. For Thanksgiving, for taking your money, for making you feel small, for forgetting what really matters. For turning into someone I don't even recognize. I know you are. And I forgive you for some of it. The rest will take time. But you're giving me a chance. That's more than I deserve. No, I said firmly. You deserve a chance to do better. Everyone does. What you don't deserve is to have everything handed to you without consequences or growth. She nodded, wiping her eyes with her free hand. Fair. That's fair. We sat there for a while longer, holding hands across the table. Mother and daughter, broken but beginning to heal. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm that surprised us both with its normalcy. Nicole found a job, nothing glamorous, just working reception at Dr. Morrison's dental office 3 blocks from my house. She could walk there, which saved on gas money. It was minimum wage plus tips, barely enough to contribute, but it was something. It was independence. She started therapy twice a week with Dr. Martinez. Sometimes she came home red-eyed and exhausted from the sessions. Other times, she seemed lighter, like she'd put down a heavy burden. We talked about people-pleasing today, she told me one evening while we were making dinner together, about how I learned to suppress my own needs to make others happy. Dr. Martinez says it's common in children of single parents. They feel responsible for their parents' happiness. I paused in my chopping. Did you feel that way, like you had to take care of me after your dad died? Sometimes. Not because you asked me to. You never did. But I saw how sad you were and I wanted to fix it. Wanted to be perfect so you'd have one less thing to worry about. Oh, Nicole. Dr. Martinez says that's probably why I tried so hard to make things work with Liam. I couldn't stand the idea of being another thing that failed, another thing that would disappoint people. She smiled sadly. Turns out staying in a bad situation is more disappointing than leaving it. Your therapist sounds very wise. She is. She's helping me figure out who I am when I'm not trying to be what everyone else needs. Emma and Jake were thriving in ways that broke my heart a little. Without the constant tension of their parents fighting, they relaxed, became more themselves. Jake started sleeping through the night again. No more nightmares about loud noises and scary voices. His teacher at school called to say he seemed like a different child, more confident, more willing to participate. Emma stopped chewing her nails down to bloody nubs. She joined the after-school choir and discovered she loved singing. She'd practice in her room, her sweet voice drifting through the house, singing songs about hope and new beginnings. "Grandma," she said one night while I was tucking her in, "I like it here. Is that okay? Is it okay that I like being here better than our old house?" "Of course it's okay, sweetheart. This is your home for as long as you need it to be." The old house was pretty, but it didn't feel safe. She snuggled deeper into her blankets. "This house feels like hugs." "Houses that feel like hugs are the best kind," I whispered, kissing her forehead. David became a fixture in our daily life. He'd come for dinner most nights, always bringing something fresh bread from the bakery, flowers from the farmer's market, books for the kids from Powell's. He and Nicole developed an easy rapport built on mutual respect and shared love for me and the children. "Your mother is remarkable," I heard him tell Nicole one evening while they were doing dishes together. I was in the living room with the kids, but could hear their conversation clearly. "I'm starting to remember that," Nicole replied. "I spent so long seeing her through Liam's eyes, through Patricia's eyes, through the eyes of the life I thought I wanted. I forgot to see her through my own eyes." "And what do your eyes see now?" "Someone strong, someone who built a whole community of people who love her, someone who set boundaries without being cruel, someone who's teaching me by example how to be a complete person." She paused. "Someone I want to be like when I grow up." "You're 32 years old." "Exactly. Still time to grow up." Their laughter floated into the living room, warm and genuine, and I felt something ease in my chest. Maybe we really would be okay. 3 weeks before Christmas, I got a call that changed everything. "Mrs. Fletcher, this is Richard Hastings, from the disastrous Thanksgiving dinner at your daughter's house." I remembered him, the CEO, the important client Liam had been so desperate to impress. "Mr. Hastings, what can I do for you?" I wanted to call personally to apologize for my role in what happened to your family. He sounded genuinely uncomfortable. "I've since learned about Liam's gambling problem, about the pressure he put on Nicole. And I've learned from my assistant Emily, she was your student, I believe, about 15 years ago, about the kind of teacher you were, the kind of person you are." Emily. I remembered her. Quiet girl, brilliant with words, came from nothing and fought for everything. "Emily speaks very highly of you," he continued. "She told me you used to bring food for students who couldn't afford lunch, that you'd stay after school for hours helping anyone who needed it, that you changed her life." "Emily changed her own life. I just provided some support." "That's exactly what she said you'd say." He chuckled. "Mrs. Fletcher, I'm calling because I want to do something for you, for the community you've built. Emily told me about the scholarship you started at Portland Community College. It's very small, just helps a few students a year. I'd like to change that. I want to donate to the scholarship fund, make it substantial enough to help dozens of students, maybe even endow it permanently." I sat down heavily. "Mr. Hastings, that's incredibly generous, but..." "No buts. I'm a wealthy man, Mrs. Fletcher. Money I made through good fortune and hard work, yes, but also through advantages I was born with. I'd like to use some of that wealth to honor a teacher who made a difference. Emily's not the only former student who's told me about you. I've heard from 5 others in the last week alone." 5? 5. I put out a request on social media. Anyone who'd been taught by Nancy Fletcher, contact me. I've got dozens of responses. Stories about how you changed lives, opened doors, believed in kids no one else believed in. His voice grew warm. "You're famous, Mrs. Fletcher. Famous among the people who matter." After we hung up, I sat in my quiet kitchen marveling. 5 students, Dozens of responses, lives I'd touched without knowing the full extent. Teaching real teaching was like dropping pebbles into a pond. You never saw where all the ripples when Christmas approached faster than expected. Nicole's bakery idea was taking shape. Patricia had offered to invest not a gift, she was clear about that, but a business loan with formal terms. Nicole would pay her back over 5 years at a fair interest rate. "I'm not enabling you," Patricia had said firmly when Nicole tried to refuse. "I'm believing in you. There's a difference. Enabling would be giving you money with no strings attached, letting you become dependent. This is a business transaction. You'll pay me back. You'll learn to run a business. You'll become independent. But what if I fail? Then you'll fail, and you'll learn from it, and you'll try again." Patricia smiled. "Nicole, I made my fortune in real estate. Do you know how many deals fell through before I succeeded? Dozens. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the path to success." We'd found a commercial kitchen space Nicole could rent by the hour, a former restaurant that now rented out its kitchen to food entrepreneurs. She'd registered the business officially Nancy's Legacy Bakery, LLC. Emma had designed the logo using her art class skills, a simple pie with steam rising from it, the words Nancy's Legacy underneath in friendly script. "I started the farmer's market in February," Nicole told me excitedly one evening. She was back to cooking with me regularly, now relearning recipes she'd forgotten, asking questions about techniques and ingredients. "And I've already got 5 custom orders for Valentine's Day. Mostly pies, but one woman wants a 4-tier wedding cake." "A wedding cake for your first major order? That's ambitious." "I know, but Grandma's recipe book has instructions for wedding cakes. And you'll help me write?" "Of course I will." She hugged me suddenly, fiercely. "Thank you, Mom, for believing in me, for giving me a second chance, for not giving up on me even when I gave you every reason to." "You're my daughter," I said simply. "That doesn't come with conditions. But it comes with boundaries. I'm learning that. Love without boundaries isn't healthy love. No, it's not." We decorated the house for Christmas together, all of us. David brought over boxes of ornaments from his house, many of them made by his late wife, Linda. "She'd want them to be used," he said. "Want them to bring joy to a family again." Emma and Jake made paper chains and popcorn garlands. Nicole baked Christmas cookies using my mother's recipes, snickerdoodles and gingerbread, and those delicate butter cookies shaped like stars. The house smelled like cinnamon and sugar and pine. On Christmas Eve morning, Patricia arrived with bags of presents, not extravagant but thoughtful. A science kit for Jake, who'd recently announced he wanted to be an astronaut. Art supplies for Emma, who'd declared her intention to become an illustrator. A professional knife set for Nicole for her bakery business. And for me, a framed photo of all of us from Thanksgiving, the second one, the one at my house with all my guests. Patricia had somehow gotten someone to take a picture without me knowing. "Look at your face in this photo," she said, pointing. "That's pure joy. That's what you created. Community, belonging, love." She touched my shoulder. "You taught me what really matters, Nancy. Thank you for that. I didn't do anything special. You chose yourself. You set boundaries. You built something beautiful out of hurt and rejection." She smiled. "That's everything special." That evening we gathered around my small Christmas tree. David read "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" to the kids using different voices for each character. Emma and Jake giggled at his dramatic renditions. Nicole sat beside me on the couch, our shoulders touching in easy companionship. "Mom," she said quietly, "remember last year when I uninvited you from Thanksgiving? I remember. If you could go back knowing everything that would happen, all the pain but also all the growth, would you change it?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," I said finally. "I wouldn't change it, because that moment, as painful as it was the moment I finally chose myself. And everything good that's happened since came from that choice. Even me being here, even the kids being displaced, even all the hurt. Even that. Because Nicole, you're better now, healthier, more yourself. The kids are safe and thriving. And I have a community I never would have built if I'd stayed in my comfortable place waiting for you to include me." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I'm glad it happened then, even though I caused it. Even though I was the villain of the story. You weren't the villain. You were someone in pain making bad choices. There's a difference. Dr. Martinez says something similar, that I'm not my worst decisions. She's right. None of us are. New Year's Eve found us planning Nicole's bakery in earnest. She'd created a business plan with Patricia's help, projections, expenses, marketing strategies. She'd designed labels and packaging. She'd practiced recipes until they were perfect. "I'm terrified," she admitted to me while we were testing yet another pie crust recipe. "What if I fail? What if people don't like my food? What if—" "Nicole," I interrupted gently, "stop catastrophizing. What if you succeed?" "I hadn't thought about that." "That's the problem. You've spent so long expecting failure that you haven't let yourself imagine success." I put down my rolling pin. "Let me tell you something I learned when I started teaching. I was terrified, convinced I'd be terrible at it, that the students would hate me, that I'd fail. But you were a great teacher." "I became a great teacher, but I started out as a scared 23-year-old who had no idea what she was doing." I smiled. "And you know what got me through? Focusing on one day at a time, one student at a time, one lesson at a time, one pie at a time." "Exactly. Don't worry about building an empire. Just make good food with love. The rest will follow." On New Year's Day, while Nicole was at Patricia's discussing business logistics, and David was at a faculty reunion, I spent time alone with Emma and Jake. "Grandma," Emma said, curling up beside me on the couch, "when Mommy gets her own place again, can we still come visit you?" "Of course, sweetheart, whenever you want." "Good, because I like living here. It feels safe." She paused. "The old house was pretty, but it never felt like home. This feels like home." "Why do you think that is?" She thought carefully, her 10-year-old face serious. "Because you're here, and you make everything feel okay. Even when things are hard, you make it feel like we'll get through it." Jake, building a tower with blocks nearby, nodded. "And Mr. David is nice. Is he going to be our grandpa? Would you like that?" "Yeah, he tells good stories, and he doesn't yell, and he makes you smile." "He makes me very happy," I admitted. "Then he should definitely be our grandpa," Jake declared with the certainty of a 7-year-old. That evening, Nicole knocked on my bedroom door. "Can I come in?" "Of course." She sat on the edge of my bed, holding something wrapped in tissue paper. "I made you something. For New Year's. A fresh start gift." I unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a journal, handmade with Nicole's careful lettering on the cover. "Our story, the next chapter." I opened it. The first page had a photo from this past Thanksgiving, the one Nicole hadn't been at. Me and my guests smiling and happy around my table. The next pages had recent photos, Nicole and me cooking together, the kids opening Christmas presents, all of us decorating the tree, David reading to Emma and Jake. And then blank pages. Dozens of them. "For the years to come," Nicole explained. "So we can document the new memories, the new traditions we're building, the story of how we healed." "Nicole, this is beautiful. There's something else." She pulled out an envelope. Inside was a check for $5,000. "I can't take this," I said immediately. "It's not charity. It's repayment for what I took from the joint account." She held up her hand when I started to protest. "Patricia loaned it to me, a formal business loan with interest and a payment schedule. I'm paying her back $50 a month for the next 10 years, but I needed to make this right first, to pay back what I stole." "Nicole, please, Mom, I need to do this. I need to prove to myself and to you that I can take responsibility for my mistakes, that I can make things right." I looked at my daughter, at the woman she was becoming, not the polished society wife she'd tried to be, not the scared girl hiding in her room, but someone real, someone fighting to be better. "Okay," I said, "I accept. Thank you." She hugged me, and I held her like I used to when she was small, when the world seemed simpler and love felt like enough to fix anything. Maybe it still was, just a different kind of love. One with boundaries and respect and honest were. In late January, something unexpected happened. I got a call from Margaret Hastings, Richard's wife, the woman who'd attended the disastrous Thanksgiving dinner at Nicole's house. "Mrs. Fletcher, this is Margaret Hastings. I hope I'm not bothering you." "Not at all, Mrs. Hastings. How can I help you?" "Please call me Margaret. And actually, I'd like to help you. Richard told me about the scholarship fund, about your former students reaching out, about the difference you made in so many lives." "That's very kind, but—" "I was a community college student once," she interrupted gently. "Long ago, before I met Richard. I came from nothing, a trailer park in rural Oregon, parents who worked 3 jobs between them and still couldn't make ends meet. I didn't know that. Not many people do. I've spent years hiding my background, pretending I came from the same world as Richard and his friends. She laughed softly. Sound familiar? Yes, it does. I had a teacher at Chemicata Community College, Mrs. Patterson. She believed in me when no one else did, helped me transfer to a 4-year school, wrote recommendations, lent me money for textbooks. Her voice grew thick. She changed my life, Mrs. Fletcher, and I never got to thank her properly. She passed away before I could. I'm so sorry. So I'd like to thank you instead. On behalf of all the teachers like Mrs. Patterson who see potential in students others overlook. She paused. I'd like to donate to your scholarship fund, a significant amount, enough to help dozens of students every year. Margaret, that's incredibly generous, $25,000 to start, and then matching funds for whatever the community raises. I want this scholarship to grow, to reach more students, to create more opportunities. After we hung up, I sat in my quiet kitchen overwhelmed. Richard's donation, Margaret's donation, the ripples spreading further than I ever imagined. One Thanksgiving, one decision to choose myself, and look what had grown from it. David found me there 20 minutes later, tears streaming down my face. What's wrong? He asked, immediately concerned. Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. I showed him the notes I'd been taking, the numbers, the impact. David, we can help so many students, so many lives we can change. He pulled me into his arms, and I let myself be held. Let myself feel the fullness of this moment, the grief of what I'd lost with Nicole, mixed with the joy of what I'd found in myself and in this community. I'm so proud of you, he whispered into my hair. So incredibly proud. I didn't do anything special. You did everything special. You chose dignity over desperation, boundaries over people-pleasing, community over isolation. He pulled back to look at me. And you taught your daughter how to do the same. February arrived with Nicole's first farmer's market day. She woke at 4 in the morning to bake. I joined her at 4:30, unable to sleep, wanting to help. We worked side by side in my small kitchen that now smelled permanently of cinnamon and vanilla. Apple pies, pumpkin pies, pecan pies with Patricia's recipe for perfect crust, artisan bread, sourdough and whole wheat and cinnamon raisin, cookies in a dozen varieties. What if no one comes, Nicole fretted as we loaded everything into Patricia's car. She'd loaned it to Nicole for the day. Then we'll have lots of pie to eat this week. Mom, I'm serious. So am I. Nicole, whatever happens today, you did this. You created something. You took your fear and turned it into action. That's already a success. The farmer's market was in downtown Portland, in the same square where I'd walked 1,000 times. Nicole set up her booth with Emma's hand-drawn sign, Nancy's Legacy Bakery, made with love. And people came. They came for the pies that smelled like home. They came for the bread still warm from the oven. They came for the cookies that reminded them of childhood. By noon, Nicole had sold half her inventory. By 2, she was down to 3 pies and a loaf of bread. Mom, she called me, her voice breathless with excitement. Mom, they love it. They actually love it. Of course they do. It's made with love. No, I mean... She stopped, her eyes filling with tears. A woman just told me this apple pie tastes exactly like her grandmother's. She said it made her cry. She bought 3 more to freeze. Because you're not just selling food, Nicole. You're selling comfort, memory, love. By 4 o'clock, she'd sold everything, had a waiting list of custom orders, had people asking when she'd be back next week. That evening, we celebrated with takeout Chinese food and sparkling cider. Emma and Jake wanted to hear every detail of the day. Patricia stopped by with champagne for the adults and congratulations. I knew you could do it, Patricia said, hugging Nicole. I knew you had it in you. I couldn't have done it without Mom, without her recipes, her encouragement, her belief in me. No, I corrected gently. You couldn't have done it without yourself. I just reminded you who you were. Later, after everyone had gone to bed, Nicole and I sat in the kitchen one more time. Mom, I need to tell you something. Okay. I've been looking at apartments. Small ones, affordable. I think by summer I'll have enough saved for first and last month's rent and a deposit. My heart clenched, but I nodded. That's good. That's the goal, you becoming independent. But I'm terrified. Terrified of being on my own with the kids. Terrified of failing. Terrified that without you I'll fall apart again. You won't. How do you know? Because you're not the same person who fell apart before. That Nicole was trying to be someone else, living a lie, drowning in debt and shame. This Nicole knows who she is. Has a business. Has boundaries. Has done the work to heal. But what if I need help? Then you'll ask for it. Like an adult. Like someone who knows that asking for help is strength, not weakness. I took her hand. Nicole, I'll always be here, but you need to learn that you can stand on your own. That you don't need me to survive, you just need me to love you. I do need you, though. I know, and I need you too. But it's a different kind of need now. A healthy need. Not dependence, but interdependence. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Dr. Martinez says the same thing. That healthy relationships are about two whole people choosing each other, not two broken people clinging to each other. Your therapist is very smart. She is, Nicole smiled. She also says I should tell you that you're a natural therapist, that the way you've set boundaries with me, maintained your dignity while still offering support, it's textbook healthy parenting. I'm just doing what feels right. That's the point. It feels right because it is right. She squeezed my hand. Thank you, Mom, for not giving up on me, for teaching me how to be a whole person, for showing me what real strength looks like. We sat in comfortable silence, mother and daughter healed and healing. Outside, the February rain began to fall, washing the streets clean. Inside, we were warm and safe and together, and for now, that was enough.